See if this helps you hear anything.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. Okay, good.
Hey,
Awesome.
brother.
All right. Well, hey, well, thanks for jumping over here, and that helps you on the record thing. And yeah, thanks for jumping in.
Absolutely.
How are things in your world?
Today was a good day. I actually drove down to Dallas, met with a couple buddies, and then did a recording of there's a guy who has this kind of PR channel, and he'll create videos for you, and you can purpose them on social media. And so I recorded a video about the workshop, trying to get the word out.
Nice. So definitely that's one of the things I want to spend time on today is talking about the workshop, and then also, as we mentioned, we're going to have just a little conversation. What I talk about is like the wellness in the marketplace, and I've been thinking about a sort of a topic for that conversation, and I've coming up with like breathing life into accountability. And I say that because one of the projects that I'm working on and hoping to get going, I'm working with an experienced CEO, and I recently read an email where some of the team like missed a short deadline, and just the way it was handled was so different than the way what you see in corporate America, and it really was more encouraging about accountability and how being accountable is actually showing respect to other people in the relationships that you're developing and whatnot. So I know that you've got a strong accountability piece, and but tell me what is the leadership development work that the course that you're doing? Tell me a little bit about that before we get into the conversation.
Our workshop's just going to be a simple 3-hour workshop. We just feel like people aren't understanding what accountability looks like and how to see it in their lives and where they don't have it in their lives. I think we've kind of fooled ourselves to thinking we're being accountable because we're doing something, but doing something is not even close. Sometimes you're doing something and you're responsible, but accountable is different than responsible. Responsible is doing something, accountable is owning the outcome. So if I'm busy and I'm showing up at work and I have a job, that doesn't make me accountable. That makes me responsible because I showed up enough to get a paycheck. But if I really want to have the results I want or the life I want, then I have to figure out, well, is it doing what it's supposed to do? What's the result I'm getting? And if it's not doing it, then I need to be willing to change something.
Perfect. All right. So that'll go right into what we're doing here. And I guess at that, I'm going to go ahead now and we'll kind of formally just start it. And this is where I'll go back and edit the video from here. But just to begin, so again, you know me, I'm Chuck, and we're just doing this introduction for the Ceox Entrepreneurial Support Network. And we'll talk a little bit about what that is here in a moment. But today we're having Robert Hunt provide his profile introduction, or basically his introduction or his brand introduction, or whatever he would like to talk about. But my first thing is really just to kind of, I've had the opportunity to sit and chat and have some good conversation with Robert in the past. But what I'd like to do here is just kind of turn it over to him. And Robert, just kind of say hey and introduce yourself. What do you want people to know about you?
Well, I'm Robert Hunt. I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I have a beautiful wife, Kathy, been married 25 years. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. That's a big deal to me. I got 2 adult children, Lawrence, who's married, 32, lives in Austin, and James, who's 21, finishing up his last year at UT Dallas. What I do for a living is I help CEOs. I run peer groups for CEOs here in DFW. I also do executive coaching and leadership development in support of their goals. And that's my thing is I really like helping people remove the things that keep them from being their best. That's my personal purpose in life. And I happen to have a job that lets me do that, which is hilarious. I get paid to do the thing I love to do the most in my life. And so that is fun for me. I co-authored a book called Nobody Cares Until You Do. We wrote that book, Salem Thine and I did, because we wanted people to understand what is accountability. And there's a lot of people running on a false sense of accountability where they think they're being accountable, but they're really not. And this book is to help you see where you've played the role of a victim in your life or in your business and what it would look like for you to take ownership and actually have it be the way you want it to be.
Let's dive a little bit deeper. Just earlier, you were talking about like the difference between responsibility and accountability. And I
Hmm.
really do want to drive down into what accountability is. And I also don't want to lose track of what you're just saying is like you helping people to kind of remove what's keeping them from their best. We're going to set that off for a little bit in the future. But yeah, talk to me about responsibility versus accountability.
That's just one of those areas that we look at and we think we're being accountable in our lives or in our business, but we're not. And responsible is different than accountable. Responsible is doing something. Accountable is caring about the outcome and that you're going to own that. So a lot of employees think, well, I'm showing up, I'm being responsible. Showing up to work is not being accountable. It is just responsible. You were supposed to be there, you showed up, you got a paycheck. But what you're supposed to be there for is to help make the company better. You're supposed to be there to help the employees that you work with get things done. You're supposed to be there to care for your customers. So if you don't do that, that's what you're really hired for. I didn't need a human to sit in a chair. I needed someone who would do a certain thing to help us get to where we want to go. And if you take ownership of the result that you're looking for, that is accountability. But responsible is, hey, I called that guy. He didn't call me back. Hey, I ordered that. It just hasn't showed up. Hey, I didn't know that that was going to happen. All these things that we just conveniently use as excuses or blame or things that hold us back from getting things done. That's not being accountable. That at best is being responsible.
So talk to me about what it means to be okay. So accountability means I own the outcome. But in my own life, and I talk to a lot of people, sometimes, yeah, you show up to work, you follow up with the people, you do what you're supposed to do, and the outcome still isn't what you had thought it would be, let's say.
Sure.
What's accountability look like in that instance?
If you wanted the result and you didn't get it, there's still lots of other opportunities to go back and follow up and say, how come this isn't working, and make a change to confront an awkward situation. But a lot of times people will do something, it doesn't work out, so they just give up. Well, I did the best I could. A lot of people do that in their personal life. Hey, I'm going to lose weight. I tried this diet, I tried that diet, I tried this, it didn't work. Well, it's not that the diet didn't work, it's that you didn't do it right. Because a lot of people are doing it and they're having great results. So if they're doing it, why isn't it working for you? It's because you're not trying. Oh, I'm just not going to have snacks. And then you have snacks. I'm going to work out every day. And then you don't work out every day. So it's not that you can't, you've chosen not to, and you need to own that. Maybe you don't want to lose weight. Maybe you're happy where you are, but you can't make an excuse that it just didn't work. I tried and it didn't work out. You didn't do it. You didn't own it. The outcome wasn't there.
I think that's huge. And one of the things that I find with accountability is there's something of a there's a negative emotion that can be tied to accountability. And I think in fairness to a lot of people out there, like in today's corporate environment, we don't really know how to really encourage true accountability, because what you're talking about is just maturation and it's growth, right? It's actually well-being. Hold one second. Sorry about that. I had barking dogs, but it's like owning that outcome, even when it's not what you want, is healthy. It actually is growth, and it will bring a better result, even if not the same income. But accountability can have this kind of stigma, like you didn't
Yeah, it
accomplish
feels
something.
it feels like it's punitive, like, I'm going to hold you
Yes,
accountable. A lot of people say that phrase, but the reality is no one can hold anyone accountable. If you didn't do your job, I can come to you and say, "Hey, you didn't do your job," and you can make some excuses to why it didn't get done. I called that guy. He didn't do this. I don't know. I don't have time. We have all these excuses and blames that we throw out, and then we go, "Well, I guess we'll just keep trying." Or if I'm going to take it to the next level and say, "Okay, I'm the owner. You didn't do your job. You're fired, and I'm going to fire you. That's how I'm going to hold you accountable."
right,
But you're not accountable when I fire you. I'm
correct.
accountable. I'm the guy who fired you. You're just leaving to go somewhere else and take your ineptness to some other company. But if you own it, if you truly own something, that's the simplest definition of accountability. Your job, your function, your relationships, your health, your finances, your faith. If you own that, what would it look like? Because what you own, you take care of. If I have a house, I keep it clean. I mow the yard. If I have my body, I need to take care of it and eat right and sleep and get all these things that make it good. If I don't, who's that on? That's on me. I own it. That's the
Let
difference between the responsible and accountable again.
let's talk about that CEO who's accountable for creating a, let's say, a bottom line result, or maybe not, but a result nonetheless, and that employee who didn't get the outcome that they want. Now, arguably, the CEO, their outcome is to develop their people, right? So how do you help the CEO to really, well, you need to hear what's holding up that CEO from accomplishing what they're wanting to accomplish. How do you help the CEO to learn that same skill and apply it to the person who maybe instead of firing them, helps them to appreciate the value of accountability versus just moving on.
Yeah, this is why we wrote the book. There's a misconception of accountability as being a negative thing. Accountability is power. When I took accountability for my finances, I took the responsibility to go do something about it. I went and we sold our house and we started over. We owned our junk. And so when you take accountability, you have the power to change things. Our CEOs, our business owners, our leaders out there, they need to teach this mindset to our teams so that they get power, they get freedom. If you have a crappy life, do something about it. If you're not happy with your marriage, do something about it. If your finances are bad, fix it. And it takes a long time and it's an effort, but it's also an effort to be a victim and to live a miserable life of frustration. That can be very frustrating too. So you're either going to be miserable as a victim or you're going to be going through a journey to own your junk. But at the end, you win. You got it to what you wanted it to be. You're living the life you want. You have the result you're looking for.
So earlier, like getting prepared for this conversation, I had this idea or this thought about the breathing life into accountability, and I think you present accountability through the book and through your communication style. You help it to have a life that is encouraged. You help accountability to be encouraging. Let me say it
Yeah.
that way, as
Yeah.
opposed to, but it's like you're breathing life into accountability because you're absolutely right. Accountability has a punitive stain on it, right? And it really shouldn't. It really shouldn't. But it is in part because so many people have lost their job because you didn't, put X widgets out the door that month, and we needed X widgets out the door. But the true accountability in that one was, why didn't the widgets get out the door? Let's solve that and let's let everybody thrive. How do you, I don't, was there a moment in your life where you didn't appreciate accountability? And do you remember when you first kind of felt the power of accountability when you embraced it?
Yeah, I think all my life, I always had some excuse for why something wasn't the way I wanted it to be. I would blame bad bosses. I would blame the economy. I would just say, well, I can't do that. I remember being out of a job for a year one time and I kept getting offers, but I'm like, well, I can't afford to take a job that low. I mean, I really liked the company. I thought that'd be a great place to work, but they're only going to pay me X amount of money and I'm used to making this much money and they're going to pay me this. I can't take that job. Really? Maybe if you change your lifestyle and you stop spending so much money, you could take a job that you really, really want, where you love it, where you're doing what gives you joy, what you find satisfaction in. But you may have to change your lifestyle. So it's not that you can't. We always challenge people to say, when you say I can't, switch it to I won't. And if I won't, well, then I guess you don't want it that bad. But when the pain of where you are is worse than the pain of where you will go, you'll make a change. And when I was so miserable and so in debt and so broke with all my frustrations, and I just couldn't take one more day of it, then I was willing to change. That's like an alcoholic. When they hit rock bottom, they're finally, okay, I'm willing to do something now. And I don't want people to wait till their life is miserable before they finally get around to owning their junk and making a decision that, okay, this is the way I want my life to look like. Here's where I am. I'm going to do something about it. And that's what the whole book is about. It's the tools, it's the awareness, it's the process you go by to move from a place you're not satisfied to a place where you are satisfied.
I think that there is so much power in that. In part, again, a lot of what we're trying to do with this network is well-being, is mental well-being, and um, I think there is something so powerful about stepping into the ownership aspect. Um, Nothing wrong with being the employee, but being the CEO of your own life, like being the person who runs your life. Like you can be
Yeah.
an employee, you can go do whatever job you want to do, but that personal satisfaction, it seems to exist. Now, I know myself, I deal with the mental health issues, all those anxiety type stuff, but there's still satisfaction. You can still, there's still healthy ways of dealing with all that, and you can find satisfaction in life. I know a lot of people struggle to find that satisfaction, but that seems to be the win. Like when you can actually put your feet up at the end of the week and think like, wow, I did a good job for myself and my family and for those I'm growing with, or whatever that is, whatever it is that you accomplish, I think that satisfaction is another thing that a lot of people are looking for, but and yet at the same time, it's an extraordinarily healthy thing.
Well, and it's
Uh,
not going to fix everything overnight. You know, if when we decided to sell our house, we still had all kinds of other problems, but we took on one thing at a time. So you might not sit at the end of the night, put your feet up and go, "I'm pretty happy. I'm owning my junk," because that's just one area of junk. By the time we got out of debt and we started looking at our lives, we said our marriage isn't the way we want it to be.
yeah,
My health isn't the way I want it to be. My friendships aren't the way. I'm not enjoying my life with my kids. My business isn't the way. I finally got the freedom and the mindset that, hey, if I could fix one area of my life, maybe I can fix other areas of my life. So accountability is power. You see that you can own it and you can change it. And it took a while. It was a big step. It was a lot of work to do, but we had encouragement that, hey, I'm not a victim. I can own my journey and I can make decisions and I can go on a process to piece by piece be changing the parts of my life that I don't like. It takes effort, but it also is it's way better than living life as a victim.
and can you recall how you felt and your maybe some of your thoughts from 10, 15 years ago before you really decided I'm going down this path, or maybe at a point in your life where you didn't embrace what you currently believe? Can you offer some insights as to maybe who you are now versus who you were then? Not necessarily
Yeah,
your job,
I
but
think some of the clues that you're living life as a victim is that you're mad. You're mad at somebody, something. You got a stupid boss. You hate the government. Your neighbors are a pain. Your spouse is a pain. Your kids are, you look at everything so negative, you're mad. And when you are blaming someone, you get mad at them, but it doesn't change anything. It just makes you mad.
amen.
And so I lived that way, thinking I had bad bosses, I had bad things, but I was the one who chose to stay there. I remember working for a company for 3 years, and after the first couple months, I thought these guys are knuckleheads. I can't believe the kind of decisions they're making. And I could have left that job, but I thought, well, I'll give it a chance to see if I can change culture here and see if I can make a difference. And after a full year, I realized this isn't going anywhere. But then they offered me a big fat bonus at the end of the year. I'm like, well, maybe I'll put up with it for another year. And then the whole time I was so frustrated by their behavior and the way they ran their business. But I was salary whipped by then. I was making money and I'm thinking, I don't want to leave the money. So I stay and I complain. And a lot of people do that. They're in a bad marriage, but they won't do anything about it. They'll just complain. They have all these things and they're going to just sit and complain about it instead of doing something about it. I walked that journey for most of my adult life. And it wasn't until I got to the place where I saw that there's a tool there to start owning things and there's freedom in that. That's what I'm not going to have any part of my life that I don't like, that I'm not doing anything about. I'm going to do something about it. Still be a journey to get there, but I'm going to own it all.
That's awesome. That's and we're going to switch. I want to talk a little bit about the leadership development course that you have coming up here. But just as you're talking, I was reminded of just one of those old fables, right? It was about the old farmer sitting on the front porch with his old dog. Salesman comes up, and the dog is sitting there and is whimpering and he's whining. And as the salesman begins talking to the farmer, the dog just starts. Salesman's like, I can't get off focus. I got to do my job. Continues on with the farmer. Dog does it again. Does it a couple of times. Finally, salesman asks the farmer. He says, can I ask what's up with the dog? Dog sounds like he's in pain. What's going on? And farmer says, yeah, he's laying on a nail. Salesman says, well, why doesn't he get up and move? He says, it's enough to complain about, but not enough to do anything about. Right. So that,
Well,
right?
we're a whole
So
society of complainers these days. We've just become very comfortable. We take it to social media and we bitch and moan about it.
yeah,
We make big rants and raves, and we light up some donut store because they had a bad donut. We you see these videos where people are ordering fast food and they're screaming at some poor sucker on the other side of the counter. The arrogance and the anger that's going on. It is a blaming society, and we are very comfortable and we promote it and celebrate it with humor and joy when people just complain and argue and make their lives miserable and make everyone else's miserable, but they won't do anything about it.
yeah, and that's it. There's a whole really deep conversation around the psychology of how like narcissism more easily breeds, and let's say antisocial behavior more easily breeds behind a keyboard, right? Because you don't have to be in front of somebody. So yeah, that, I mean, I think that absolutely right. I mean, there's so many things that are being piled on people right now that even with the best of intentions, it's not going to be necessarily easy for people to break out of that mold. And but I think that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to help people to break out of that mold. So
At
let's
least
talk
be
about
aware
this.
of it.
You've got a course coming up, a 3 hour course, I think you said.
Yeah, sorry, it's a 4 hour course. It's
Or
from 8 to noon on April 3rd here in the DFW area. And it's called Creating a Company and a Life Built on Accountability. And we're targeting business owners and CEOs here in the area because we believe if we can teach the business owner the mindset of accountability, they can teach it to their employees, or they can bring their whole team. And we can walk them through this process of just becoming aware of what real accountability looks like in your business and in your personal life is huge. And we want people to take that first step because when you learn the mechanism and the tools to do it, you can apply it to every area of your business and your life, and it's a game changer.
and where is the course going to be held?
It's at a conference center over in Plano off the tollway.
Okay. And best place people can go to find out more information about it?
Go to Nobody Cares WS, as in workshop, nobodycaresws.com, and there you can sign up for the conference.
Okay. Awesome. Well, we're just about at the end of our 15 minutes, but I know that like one of the things I would like to do is take the time to kind of share as we're doing. So I'm going to kind of say cut on the 15-minute thing and just share a little bit more about what this is and what I'm trying to work on and see so you can kind of let it roll around in the back of your head and see if it fits anything you're doing. So I'm currently working with hopefully a startup out of California. We'll see where that goes, but also a business development group. I'm sorry, economic development group down in Beaufort, South Carolina. We've put in for a grant with the SBA. We're going to try to move things forward with or without the grant. But the gist of it is we do want to create this network of people who want to help others grow. We're going to be targeting some underserved markets and generally trying to have more healthy economic development conversations. And why I say that, so at the heart of this, to me, the real basis of the economy is the exchange of ideas between two individuals, right? And building the relationship to trust. The very, very basic of our economics, I think, is sort of has been undermined by, well, debt-based currencies. And we sort of have to rebuild it. So one of the things that we're going to be doing as we kind of host these kind of conversations is really just trying to say, okay, who are you looking to connect with? How can we help make those connections? And who are you looking for to build your business? Now, are you primarily looking for executives to come in and become clients, or who are you? Are you looking more for people who will host these types of seminars and workshops, or what is your next 60, 6 months to a year look like?
I'm looking for impact. I
Okay.
believe that God has put me at this time of my life, at the place I am, to impact people's lives. I have a passion for setting people free from the life of a victim in their business and their personal lives. And I think because of my faith in Christ, God has put this passion in me to change people's lives, including their faith. And I think bringing your faith to your job every day is very healthy because when we push away our faith, we leave part of who we are at home every day. It's unhealthy, it's stressful, it's not who we are. So I want to impact as many lives as I can. So I'm looking for speaking engagements and retreats and conferences and places where people will bring me in to talk about any topic of things. We in our CEO groups, we've gone through things about how to avoid overload or how to build trust or how to delegate to our teams and improve communication. All these things that I know, I bring them to the party, but what I really want is a conversation. I want to help leaders get past the roadblocks that hold them up from living the life they really want. So I'm looking for impact anywhere. I'll fly anywhere. I'll go to anything. Is if someone will invite me, I'd love to be there to help change lives.
All right, that's cool. I know that over in South Carolina, we have a cyber security summit that's coming up, and that kind of plays into a piece of what we're doing. But definitely, hopefully, Lord willing, later this year, we're actually trying to have a a business getaway. I don't know what else to call it, right? But I mean, so where I moved in South Carolina is right there at Hilton Head, right? Plenty of golf. If people want to go play
Beautiful.
golf. And then obviously the cybersecurity piece is just one of those nowadays you better get it. You better understand what's going on in the cyber world, right? It's yeah. I mean, it goes back to my banking days. Like nobody wants to talk about money, but it's what makes the business go round. And today it's like nobody wants to talk about cybersecurity, but if you don't, you may not be in business tomorrow. So a lot of what's being driven is from that angle, but we're trying to make sure that the conversation is not about security and much more about fruition, about like, bringing all that knowledge that we know that we have to have for business and making it about a healthier economic transaction that leads to, and the company I'm working for is a for benefit company. The other one's nonprofit. It really is about a healthier community. So I'll definitely be keeping my ears open, and I will always keep you in mind as things come up, and I'll run different opportunities by you. So with this, I'm going to, like I said, I'm just going to go edit it up just minimally. I'm going to share it out to that Signal group that we have, and I have a few other people that I'm talking to about this, so I'll share it with them. I've already shared the link with a few other people in DFW. I'll share this again with them just to
Thank you.
make it clear. Do you have a cutoff when people need to be registered by?
March 31st.
March 31st. Okay, so you got another couple of weeks. Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I do want to try to keep these nice and short. I do appreciate you jumping on today. Do you have any other thoughts?
No, this was fun, Chuck. It's good to see you, brother.
Good to see you too. I really appreciate you coming on today.
It's my pleasure, man. Let me know how I can help.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Take care.